Next, I'd like to welcome back to the United Nations Kurt Kondrich and his beautiful daughter, Chloe. Kurt refers to himself as a dadvocate. He and Chloe are here to share their journey these past 19 years, which includes speaking out on the unique and incredible qualities of people with Down syndrome and the need for protection. Kurt, you have the floor.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, CFAM, and the awesome nation of Cameroon for organizing this incredible event and for having us here today and for always pushing forward with the pro-life message and keeping us focused on that. So I want to thank you all for coming out today. I know it's later in the day, but I wanted to share the amazing journey that God has led us on since the birth of my daughter, Chloe, in 2003. It's been an incredible path. So we got am I ready with I brought visuals for you. A little bit of technical difficulties today. Perfect. Okay. And then, does that advance? It's okay. Okay. When my beautiful wife Margie was pregnant with Chloe, I was at the time a city police officer, and my motto was always to defend and protect. And we weren't sure we could have another child. We had an amazing son, Nolan, at the time. He was 4 years old, and my wife Margie became pregnant with Chloe. And during the pregnancy, we were told that we were high risk to have a child with Down syndrome. And all of you know the word risk doesn't connotate something pleasant, something good. We don't like to take risks, but we kept being asked if we wanted prenatal tests, and we refused. We didn't have the prenatal tests, and we knew we were having a girl. We named her Chloe prenatally. My son was excited about it, and my wife, my wife had a pretty good pregnancy and continued on. And in May of 2003, May 16th, Chloe will remind you of birthday. She loves to sing happy birthday. Our beautiful daughter, Chloe, came into this world, and she was diagnosed postnatally with Down syndrome. And I'll share with you, the medical people who were present during her birth were not very receptive, not very kind, didn't have nice things to say. It was kind of like a downer moment. And, when I first held my daughter, Chloe, I looked her in the eyes, and she was a beautiful young lady, and I was excited to have her. We didn't know about Down syndrome, but as people who have spoken before have emphasized how critical the services are, and I like to tell people, I'm not just pro-birth, I'm pro-life, meaning from conception to natural death, meaning taking care of human beings, which are our most priceless global resource, from the moment of conception to the moment of natural death, and that's what being a genuine pro-life person is all about. After Chloe's birth, we started connecting with parents, and we learned that 70 to 90% of the children who are diagnosed prenatally with Down syndrome, the baby was identified, the baby was targeted, and the baby was terminated. I like to call this a prenatal execution from my days as a police officer. And we know around this country and around the globe, there's a lot of nations that have gotten rid of the death penalty, which is fine, because we don't want to ever execute somebody who's innocent, or, we still want to maintain the dignity of life. But this is the ultimate execution of somebody innocent, somebody who brings light and joy into the world. So I just kept hearing these statistics, and they greatly disturbed me. So I just decided to leave my policing career. And I will share with you, I did like donuts as a police officer. But I left my policing career and decided to go where God led me, which was advocating for these amazing people. And I'd like to share this next slide. Which one of these living creatures gets protection and which is endangered? Which one has been almost eliminated from several countries around the world? Well, the eagles and the pandas get protection with the Endangered Species Act, and this country went in effect in 1973, but the living creature in the middle does not have those protections, and the one in the middle actually is kind of an endangered species. And it's a crime to harm an eagle egg and a turtle egg, which is fine. I love animals. I'll share with you. But an eagle egg or a turtle egg is an unborn creature. And when we identify, target, and eliminate people like my beautiful daughter, Chloe, like Gabriel here, like any of these individuals, that should also be against the law to do that, because they're rapidly becoming endangered species across the globe. After Chloe was born, we had the diagnosed disability, but we didn't pay attention to that. We focused on her abilities, not the diagnosed disability. So my daughter, Chloe, she's a little shy today, is 19. What is she doing now? People often ask us, what's Chloe doing? What does Chloe do? Well, here's some of the things she does. Chloe was actually reading at age 2. We have video proof of that. She graduated from preschool then. She's in high school now. She reads better than a lot of police officers I used to work with. And actually, she likes books, which most people don't even like books anymore. But she was reading, and she continues to read. And it's funny, we go to a restaurant, a lot of people say to her, what does she want? They'll say to my wife, Margie, and I'll say, why don't you ask her? She can read the menu better than most people there. As I said, Chloe has many abilities. She likes to play Frisbee. She likes baseball. She plays volleyball with her brother. She's been on the big screen in Times Square, just right down the road, 5 times for the National Down Syndrome Society's global video. She's been up there and got to see her, and that's an incredible organization that does incredible things, just like the Global Down Syndrome International. They do amazing things to advocate for our kids globally. You know, Chloe's best friend is her brother Nolan, and, you know, I often think of all the missing siblings throughout the world who never had a chance to have the brother and sister born with Down syndrome and to see the joy that they bring and the unconditional love. I tell a lot of people that a lot of girls in high school and middle school could really benefit from having a best friend like Chloe because she'll never hurt them. She doesn't have any agendas, and it's exactly what a lot of these young people need today. But Nolan and Chloe had this bond. It's just, I call it magical because it is magical, and she's made him the young man that he is today, and she was the flower girl in his wedding 2 years ago, which is hard to believe. Chloe is actually on the cover of a book, and it's called Brilliant Souls, and she autographed and brought several copies. So if you'd like a copy after, that's on her, and please come up and meet her. So I'd like you to see our daughter, and she gives that book out all across the world when she meets with people just to get out the face of our kids. Chloe has met with leaders from across the world. I see we have France here today up in the booth up there, and Chloe has met with Madame Lejeune from France, whose husband, Dr. Jerome Lejeune, founded the Extra Chromosome for Down syndrome. She's been to the French consulate. And, you know, Gabriel said that individuals with Down syndrome have an extra chromosome, and I actually wrote an article that Adam and Eve had Down syndrome, if you read about the creation, until the devil stole the extra chromosome. Because people with Down syndrome are how we were supposed to behave and how we were supposed to treat each other, kind and loving and in a positive way with no malice and no evil. Then the devil came up and tricked them, stole that chromosome. We've been going downhill ever since, and that's why God sends these amazing people here to remind us globally of our own humanity and how we are supposed to treat people. What's our mission now? You know, people say, you really changed your, mission after policing. What's the same thing? It's to defend and protect. Chloe and I started doing advocacy, and during that time, I just started thinking we need a law in our state of Pennsylvania that when a mother gets a Down syndrome prenatal diagnosis, instead of being told to terminate, they need to be given factual supportive information. So we just started advocating for that, grassroots, no big money, nothing. We just did it out of our heart, went around, met with people, and what happened in 2014, our state legislature, which never passes anything, passed the Down Syndrome Prenatal Education Act, which is amazing. They called it Chloe's Law, which mandates when a mother gets a prenatal Down syndrome diagnosis, she's given factual, supportive, uplifting information and told the good things. And Chloe actually and her buddies and friends got to sign the law. It's her little friend Alex, who's from South Korea, was there with Chloe on the day of the bill was signed. And she actually, it actually made the second page of the Korean Times. I can't tell you what that says, but I heard it was really positive information about the law. And I'll tell you, God has used this law to get the facts out about what's happening around the globe to these beautiful individuals. And so since then, thanks to, like I said, the amazing organization CFAM, we've been invited for our third time here to speak at the United Nations and on a global level to, I always tell people, this is not a political agenda. This isn't Republican, Democrat, or liberal, conservative. This is human beings. And our most precious, priceless resource, treasure as a global community here at the United Nations and across the world is human life. And if we don't defend and protect human life and value it and give every person the opportunities they deserve, then we as a country, we as a nation, we as a world are going to fail. So that's why it's been such a blessing to speak here. Chloe when we spoke her one time, an Italian filmmaker made a video. It's called Why We Should Welcome Kids with Down Syndrome, Anna Rosa Favala, and that video is out across the world in several different languages, and if you can access it. It's easily found on the internet. Chloe's received many awards for her advocacy. We've been blessed how God has used us to spread this, put a face on these people. A lot of people just see people with Down syndrome and disabilities as a number. As Lisa said earlier, a school board member recently was upset because the cost of helping these individuals they thought was too high. Well, when it comes to human life, the cost is priceless because it's the most priceless thing that we have out there. Chloe was actually asked to the White House. She's met with our former president, vice president during the March for Life. She stood there and actually was the only person to get a kiss on the head, which was pretty cool. Her picture hung in the West Wing of the White House during the time, and she was invited to the vice president's Christmas party, and God continues just to open the doors. We speak all over the place, across the country, wherever God sends us, that's where we go. So I'm wrapping things up. Chloe was instrumental last year in West Virginia, our advocacy in getting a law passed in West Virginia that outlawed aborting children with Down syndrome, and got to sign it along with the governor's dog on the desk in West Virginia. That's Baby Dog, and he was the hit of the show. Chloe has been invited on Fox News, and our dear friend Rachel Campos Duffy has had us on her. She has a beautiful daughter, Valentina, who has Down syndrome, and she's been instrumental in helping us to spread the good word about this. And as I'm wrapping things up, I'm going to throw these thoughts out at you. Identify targeting and terminating a human being who receives a prenatal Down syndrome diagnosis because they don't meet the misguided global cultural mandate for unattainable perfection represents the ultimate extreme form of discrimination, prejudice, profiling, bigotry, intolerance, exclusion, and hatred. And it's something that none of us should accept or tolerate. And I'll say this to you. What if next week we get a prenatal test for autism or ADHD or baldness or being short or having bad skin? Should we just wipe all those people out? We all need to be invested in what's happening prenatally with genetic movement and all be taking care of these individuals. And when I was a police officer during my 20 years as a police officer, I never had a call where somebody with Down syndrome was committing a crime. I never saw a global news story of a person with Down syndrome involved in a heinous act. Chloe and people like her are filled with unconditional love, kindness, empathy. And if our world here were filled with people with an extra chromosome, we'd see a dramatic drop in global crime, global hate, war, prejudice, and violence. And isn't that what this establishment, with this organization, the United Nations, was made for? And my last thing, there was a song many years ago called What the World Needs Now is Love. You can look it up. There's several versions, but I would, as I conclude here, what our world needs now is love. Chloe has no malice. She'll never intentionally hurt anyone. I want you to read your global headlines tonight and ask yourself, who are the disabled ones in our culture? And my message is to embrace, not erase, Down syndrome. So I thank you. I thank CFAM. I thank Cameroon for having us here today. And God bless you all. And let's change the world, because this is the place to do it.
Thank you, Kurt. Rebecca,